The Lumix G100 is probably the most hated camera of all time, but was that hate warranted? And where did it all come from? Let's check it out in this video. I think one reason the G100 came limping out of the gate was the way that it was marketed. It was marketed as #vlogger life, but it didn't even have in-body stabilization or IBIS, and that left a lot of people reviewing it scratching their heads. Also, vlogger life is really quite cringy. I'm sorry Lumix, but it was. Now, the Lumix G100 is a lot of things, but it is definitely not a vlogging camera. #vlog life. You can vlog with it, but it's not the first choice by a mile. And I think that's where Lumix sort of set this poor little camera up to fail, to be honest. I've really tried vlogging with this camera as well. In some ways it ticks so many boxes because it's small and it's light, and it has a really good built-in microphone, which is great if you're like me and you forget your microphone quite regularly.
Also, guess who didn't pack a microphone? I'm very sorry.
And it also has a mic input if you don't forget your microphone quite regularly. But without that IBIS, you are forced into this uncomfortable crop. And then you're in a catch-22 situation because you either have the option of putting an unstabilized wide-angle lens on, which makes the stabilization worse, or riding it out with a stabilized stock lens, like the pancake lens, but then having this really uncomfortable claustrophobic crop.
Wow. I don't really know where to go for sunrise, but this isn't a bad spot. It's looking lovely. R.I.P. my Olympus 9 to 18mm. Even the vlog footage on this from a little bit earlier on seemed decent with the 9mm, you know, because it was a little bit wider.
And it's worse if you get the settings wrong because it does it twice as much, which I did all the way through one blooming hike. I was looking at the footage and I'm like, why? Why does this look strange?
Woo! And we're going to Madeira to do the PR1 trail. So we're on the way back down now, and I've just realised I've been on extreme stabilisation the whole time, which is why my selfie stuff was like this. So, sorry about that. Standard is much more usable.
Yeah, I've really tried to vlog with this camera and it is not the one.
Made it to the top. Woo! Now I need a beer.
Another thing that it was sort of hinting at in the marketing was that the focus system was pretty much improved in terms of a software algorithm kind of way. It's still contrast-based autofocus. And in my experience, aside from the GH6, which is genuinely a big boost, I mean, I'm on continuous autofocus now on the GH6, and it's like, woo, it's all in focus, it's great. Would never have done that in a million years on the GH5. The G100, basically you just get more boxes on the screen, it looks like it's doing more, but it didn't vastly improve in my opinion. And because the autofocus is such a triggering thing for people who review cameras, saying that it's vastly improved when it isn't is not the way.
Also, we've just been down a really creepy tunnel. There's a few creepy tunnels on this trail, and I got attacked by a mouse and screamed. But aside from that, I'm doing okay.
And then the biggest head scratcher of all, in my opinion, you have a 10-minute recording limit on 4K. 10 minutes as a vlogger. Like, I bet we're about 30 seconds into this video and I'm already 5 minutes in because I've fluffed my lines so much. Like, there's no way the average person talking to camera can get anything out coherently in 10 minutes. 13 minutes. That took me 13 minutes. I couldn't have recorded this on the G100. And it was doubly baffling to me because I had a G7, which had a 30-minute recording limit and came out in 2015, for God's sake. So, think quick. What 3 things would a vlogger or a content creator value in a camera? I think IBIS, I think good autofocus, and I think a long enough 4K limit so we get all of our umming and ahhing out. The G100 has precisely none of these things. #vlog life. But at least it has a flippy screen, right? In the plus column we have good audio inputs and we have a flippy screen. In the negative column we have missing features that are absolutely essential to what this camera was marketed for. So is that it then? Is the G100 just a bit pants and we should all just chalk it up to a miscue from Lumix? I absolutely love that camera, genuinely. I might be the only person on the planet, but I really do think it has a place in my lineup and it will for a very long time. This camera has a lot going for it, genuinely, unless you're a content creator exclusively. But it is a camera with a lot of compromises. For example, built-in fantastic mic, amazing. As I've said, I've utilised it more than once. But the negative side of that is if you're a content creator, you're going to probably bring a radio mic or an onboard mic anyway, and you're probably paying a heck of a lot of money for the fancy pants microphone when you probably would bypass it 99% of the time. Compromise. Audio good? Not necessary. Compromise 2. Vlog is built in. Amazing! A 400k camera that has Vlog. But it only has 8-bit 4K, so you can't push and pull the files anyway. It really feels like adding Vlog to this camera was such a box-ticking exercise, much like it used to be, you know, a new camera had come out when it was very early on. It was like, this camera has 85,000 megapixels. It's just like, it's nonsense, it's unnecessary, and it's just a box-ticking exercise. And ironically, I think we're coming back round to that now with newer cameras. But that is a rant for another day. Compromise. 10 minutes limit on your 4K recording. As I've said, absolutely stupid for a camera that came out in 2020. The G7 came out 5 years prior and has more than that. Your phone has more than that. No, there's no way I can spin that into a positive. Good times, the form factor. I absolutely love the form factor. It would be ideal, for instance, for hiking and wild camping and travel, because, you know, I have done that quite a lot with this camera, and it's so tiny and it's so small and it just fits on, like, the Peak design. I wasn't just thrusting my... The camera is so tiny and so small, and you can just put it on sort of a Peak design strap or whatever and you won't feel it. It is incredibly light, and I love the form factor, and it even has a little tiny grip so you don't feel like it's going to get lost in your hands. So perfect for hiking and travel, right? Because it's compact. Well, it's not weather sealed. So there's been a few times I've been out and about hiking and it's got a little bit misty or it started raining, and in the plastic bag it goes. So I will say there are some hikes I've been on, because obviously I'm a little bit unfit and I don't want to take a lot of stuff with me. So when I did the PR1 in Madeira, which was beautiful by the way, it was so high for me, I thought I might not even bother taking a camera because the weight of the camera is just unnecessary. Just give me an extra like litre of water and a snack.
Beautiful.
What are you doing up the mountain? I actually took the G100 because it's so light, and I've got some fantastic photos from that trip and I'm so glad. Same with Cadair Idris in the UK, that's a blooming beast of a mountain, and I took my G100 and got some lovely moody shots. That was one where it ended up in the bag because it did start to rain on the way down. So it was almost perfect for hiking, but then it's not weather sealed. So who is this camera for? I don't blooming know. I've got absolutely no idea. It's definitely not vloggers, it's definitely not hikers, it's probably not photographers. I just don't know. I don't know. It's a weird little bizarre thing in this lineup from Lumix. And all this aside, I do have such a sort of soft spot for this camera. I do like it for street photography as well. It's very incognito. I have got brilliant images and some good video from this camera. And what more can you want from a camera except, you know, all the compromises I've been through. So yes, did the G100 deserve the hate? For a camera in 2020, I think it really sort of did. I think some things that it compromised on were inexcusable, but I do like it. I think I like the flippy screen, I like that it's small, I like that I can take it anywhere with me. I do like, honestly, the audio built in is really blooming good. So, you know, if you are on one of those hikes where you can't be bothered taking an external microphone, you can still kind of talk to the camera, as long as you remember not to use the double punch in, you know, compromise, compromise, compromise. The G100 is a camera full of compromise. Watch this video next, which is my original review of the G100, and I was clearly a lot more optimistic back then than I am now.